Hey there, welcome to the second instalment of the Kotare Models Spitfire build series on my YouTube channel. In this previous video we wrapped up by completing the painting and weathering of the cockpit, as well as attaching the fuselage halves together. In this episode we'll complete the remaining construction stages and prepare everything for the upcoming painting and weathering. We're getting back into the action by connecting the upper fuselage spine. Kotare Models has provided an amendment on their website indicating the frame part requires slight trimming to ensure a proper fit for the spine. Don't worry, it's a simple task and be easily accomplished with a pair of nippers. I've noticed that some Spitfire builders have encountered gap issues along the spine, but both in my initial current builds I haven't faced any such issues. Upon consideration, I believe the key lies ensuring the spine is firmly glued in place. My technique involves gluing the inner tab slot first, fitting the spine, then running glue along the outer joins. And for added stability, ensuring 3 lengths of Tamiya tape over the spine to keep everything in place. This method has proven effective in achieving a snug fit without any gaps along the spine joint. Moving on to the wing assembly, I fixed the wing spar into position using a paintbrush, as it offers better control compared to the brush included in the bottle. This provides especially useful for longer areas that need bonding. The smaller brush is perfect for precision work on smaller parts, such as the machine gun inserts. I encountered a slight tightness with the circular locating tab on the wheel wells, but with a slight push with something solid, it's smoothly slotted into place. Apart from that, the wheel wells easily align and fit perfectly between the wing halves. Mr. Surfacer Black and Tamiya Retarder Type Thinner combination provides a smooth and even base for further paint layers. The 60-40 ratio ensures optimal coverage and adhesion to the wheel wells. Moving on to the aluminium surfaces, the layer metal colour range not only delivers a realistic metallic finish, but also saves time as it's airbrush ready with no need of thinning. The chosen scheme dictates that the wheel wells retain the factory applied night and white paint. To simplify the identification of the areas that require specific colours, I use a marker pen to clearly mark them out before proceeding to the painting process. It's worth the extra effort to double check that you've marked the colours correctly, as overlooking this step could result in a situation like mine where I had to redo the painting. I applied Ammo's interior wash directly from the bottle, carefully working around the details of the wheelbase. The hue of the interior wash provides to be particularly effective against the backdrop of white and aluminium that have been painted. This step not only enhances the realism of the model but also adds depth and definition to the interior details. It's essential to strike a balance with the application, ensuring the wash settles into the details without overwhelming the overall appearance. To speed up the drying of the wash, I used a hairdryer set to a hot but low setting, gently waving it over the treated areas. Once the surface was dried, I used a brush dipped in oil thinners to carefully remove the excess wash from the surfaces. This method ensures a quicker drying time while allowing precise control and achieving the desired level of weathering on the model's surface. After reaching the desired level of weathering in the wheelbase, I proceeded to join the wing halves together using Tamiya extra thin cement. Once again, I utilised a paintbrush for the gluing process, enabling me to achieve long strokes for a secure and seamless bond between the wing components. The wing fillets demand additional care during the cleanup phase. Look for sprue attachment points on the mating surfaces where the fillets connect to the sprue. A swift back and forth with the file on any of the remaining material will facilitate a proper mating of the fillets to the previous assembled fuselage. Slide the fuselage between the fillets, aligning one side, then apply a gentle downward pressure to the opposite wing. This action will secure the fuselage in place, creating a perfect fit between the components. After cleaning up the wheels, I applied a generous amount of cement to the seam. Allowing the cement to interact with the plastic, I firmly pressed the halves together, causing the melted plastic to ooze from the joint. This process is intended to fill any potential gaps and create a solid bond between the wheel halves. To eliminate mould seam lines on the undercarriage strut, I gently scrape the line using the edge of a fresh knife blade on the surface. To enhance the detail of the strut, I used a 1mm drill bit to bore out the locking holes. Sanding sponges proved to be invaluable tools when addressing seam joints with complex curves. The sponge adapts to the curve, facilitating precise sanding action. Typically, I begin with a 400 or 600 grit and then progress to 1000, finishing off with the 2000 to achieve a smooth surface. When there are moulded details near the area that needs sanding, I place strips of tape as close as possible to the sanding zone. This tape acts as a protective barrier, ensuring the preservation of nearby details. Returning to the wheels, I identified a few areas that needed filling, and I addressed them with CA glue as it dries fast and is very sandable. My wife introduced me to these convenient 2-gram bottles of CA, commonly used for applying fingernail extensions. This particular CA reacts perfectly with ZAP CA Accelerator. These smaller bottles could potentially reduce wastage from the larger bottles expiring before full usage. When painting propellers on World War II British aircraft, I start with the yellow tips, as it's the most straightforward process. While yellow can pose challenges, priming the area with white beforehand proves to be helpful in achieving a smoother and more vibrant yellow finish. The specifications indicated Federal Standards 33538 for propeller tips. Instead of blending a custom colour, I opted for Hobby Colour H329, which is FS 13538. Although it matches the 3353 in colour, the choice features a gloss finish rather than a matte one. It's worth noting that the first number in an FS code denotes the finish, 1 for gloss, 2 for semi-gloss and 3 for matte. To achieve a 3mm tip, instead of individually measuring each tip, I utilised 3mm tape for the masking of the yellow. Each tape strip was aligned with the top tip and folded over, effectively masking both sides at once. For a slight visual contrast, I introduced a few drops of white into the remaining black in the paint cut with the airbrush to create a lighter shade. This lighter shade was then applied in a random pattern on the black propeller surfaces. Rather than buying Canopy Masking set, I choose to utilise my silhouette cutter. To streamline the process, I scan the masking sheet from the 148 Tamiya Mk.1a Spitfire into Inkscape, and then enlarged it by 150% for 1/32 scale. I initially sketched the mask lines out roughly, then zoomed in and fine-tuned the positions using the node tool. Inkscape, being a free software package, is especially useful for scale modelers, enabling the creation of canopy and painting masks as well as artwork for decals at no cost. Upon completing the tracing of the mask outline in Inkscape, I proceeded to import the masks into the Cutter software. After printing out the masks, I carefully refined the fitment using the node tool. If you're interested in utilising the mask file for your project, please don't hesitate to express your interest in the comments section below. I'll be more than happy to make the mask file available for download. After finalising the modifications to the outline of the mask, I utilised a Tamiya masking sheet in the cutter machine to cut out the masks. Once cut, I removed the outer mask, leaving the mask ready for application. With the help of a pair of tweezers, I applied the mask to the corresponding parts in preparation for painting. For masking the upper identification line, I applied Gunsy's Mr. Masking Sol R using a fine pointed paintbrush. This water-based product ensures easy cleanup after application. Once dry, any excess or unwarranted areas can be carefully cut away. It's essential to use a fresh knife blade for this task, as it simplifies the process and ensures clean, precise cuts. To mask off the cockpit area, I used Tamiya 10mm tape. I applied the tape along the cockpit edges and then used long strips of tape lengthwise, as indicated by the tweezers motions. The mask doesn't need to be aesthetically pleasing, just in preventing any undesirable overspray in the cockpit. For additional barrier, I used Gunzi Mr. Masking Sol Neo, which is slightly thicker than the previous used Sol R. To safeguard the previous painted wheelbase, I utilised the foam included in Eduard resin sets that they use for added protection in their packaging. The foam was easily cut into squares and rectangle shapes, then inserted into the wheelbase. As I bring this segment to a close, I'm applying a coat of Mr. Surfacer Black to prime the external components. In the upcoming segment, I'll cover the painting and weathering processes. I greatly appreciate your support. If you found the content valuable, kindly take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe for upcoming updates. Cheers!